Hey everyone, Morgan here. So it's time to talk about Album of the Week for November 9th, 2020. And it's a bit of a doozy this time. This is an album that we can definitely say changed music as we know it. Okay. Our choice this week, Led Zeppelin's first album, Led Zeppelin 1. This is a CD copy of it that I've had for probably 25 years or so. But I originally would have had this, believe it or not, on 8-track tape, probably something I got from my brother. I don't remember ever owning it on vinyl, but I've had multiple, 8-track and cassette copies over the years. Uh, would not mind picking up one of the remastered vinyl copies sometime soon. Okay, so in the mid 60s, Jimmy Page was in the Yardbirds. Their first guitarist was Eric Clapton. He left. Jeff Beck came in. Jeff Beck brought in Jimmy Page to play bass, but he was such a good guitar player. The two of them ended up, trading off guitar duties. Beck left. Page was guitar player for the band. In '68, the band kind of self-destructed, and Page was left with the rights to the name. He owned the name, and there were tour dates that they had committed to up in Scandinavia. So he called on first a bass player that he had met doing studio work. And the rumor is that he met John Paul Jones for the first time playing bass and Page playing guitar on a recording for Donovan called Hurdy-Gurdy Man. And if you've not heard the Hurdy-Gurdy Man, it's worth listening to. Now, Jones had recommended Robert Plant as a singer, and Plant brought with him John Bonham on drums, and that was it. There's your lineup. They played the Scandinavian dates under the name The New Yardbirds, and immediately afterwards dumped the name after that tour, went into the studio and knocked out this album in like 36 hours. Now, the difference in recording back then and now was pretty clear. A band like this, all experienced musicians, I mean, Page had been in the studio for years. I mean, he played on like the James Bond themes and a lot of other stuff, thousands of studio recordings. He was really good. And John Paul Jones, pretty much the same. They worked up all the music on that tour. So when it came to be time to go into the studio, they were ready. It was set. Okay, they didn't need to be doing a bunch of writing in the studio. Several of the tracks were old blues standards, Willie Dixon songs. One was a song that they had done with the Yardbirds called Dazed and Confused, actually written by someone else, but the Yardbirds covered it. Also, several songs picked up riffs and sounds like old Yardbirds song. The song How Many More Times was a reworking of Smokestack Lightning. And the lyrics were brand new and different. It was an old blues tune, or based on old blues tunes, but the musical track was pretty much Smokestack Lightning. The whole album, it start to finish, it just changed everything. First song grabbed you. Now you got to realize back then, you bought an album, you put it on the turntable, and you played it straight through. Finish side one, pick it up, turn it over, play the second side. And they needed a really strong opening number. It was called Good Times, Bad Times. And it reached in, grabbed you, twisted your heart, ripped it back out and said, "Do I have your attention now?" So really interesting that way. Music was ready for a shakeup at this point. And this you can pretty much say, all right, hard rock came out of this album. Although it was a really blues-inspired album, okay, which really made it great. Now, Zeppelin. Some people love them, some people hate them. I'll be content if I go the rest of my life and never have to hear Stairway to Heaven again. It's an overplayed song. But this album, this was the blues meeting rock and roll. And the members of the band, specifically Robert Plant, have said really their best work wasn't the fourth album. which produced, Stairway to Heaven and rock and roll and that. It was the next album called The Song Remains the Same, or the album that we're talking about today, Led Zeppelin 1. Those are the ones that hold up the best over time. Led Zeppelin is very protective of their music. Not often do they license it to movies and films. I think the first time they did license a song was for an animated film called Small Soldiers 20 years ago. And they used a track from this called Communication Breakdown. Uh, it was licensed for the film School of Rock with Jack Black. I recommend you watch that one sometime. So it doesn't go into the movies a lot. It became a staple of FM radio. I never got to see Led Zeppelin. They split up after John Bonham's death, and they were on the verge of doing an American tour. And I would like to have gone to that tour. I was kind of planning on it. I would have been about 14, 15 years old at the time. And I didn't get that chance. I've never seen any of the members perform solo. So I don't even really know that experience. But it was the right band at the right time to really shape music. So listen to it. You're going to hear the blues. You're going to hear the hard British interpretation of American blues, which is really good and really worth your time. Okay, hope you enjoy this one. This is Morgan signing off.